Hi guys, my name's Keaton McCracken. I'm a junior at Pitt State. I majored in history education, and I grew up in St. Paul, Kansas. I went to school in St. Paul, and that's public school, so it's about 30 minutes from here. I graduated in 2013. I grew up a cradle Catholic, so I didn't really start learning about my faith until later high school, and then whenever I got to college, it really started to grow exponentially for me. So I can tell you that I'm nowhere where I need to be, but I am on the way. I don't know where each of you guys are in your faith life, but I do know this, and that's that we're all still growing. I'm still growing, you're still growing. Joe and Janice, they're still growing. And if you feel like you're at a stopping point in the faith, you need to turn the page, because there's always room to grow in everybody's faith life. So today is more than just about growing. I wanted to talk about dancing, and especially how that can be related back to God. And that is a dancing that glorifies God, like I said. So the fact of the matter is that as high schoolers, you're a part of the youngest group of adults in the faith. They call them young adults. And this group of young adults, especially now in this culture, is being tested more than ever. So it's important that in everything that we do, that we glorify God, that we bring everything we do back to God. So as a counselor this summer, I was a counselor at Camp Totus Tuus, and I had at that camp I had the opportunity to say night prayer every night. And one of the verses that we said, I think it was like Tuesday night or Wednesday night, it's from 1 Peter, and it says that the devil is prowling around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. Everywhere we look, we see the evidence of this in our culture. And I want to focus mainly on how dancing can help you glorify God. And this starts by identifying what needs to be changed. And I think that especially starts with bumping and grinding. This is unfortunately very common at high school dances, and I would know because I was in high school once as well. Probably even more so in the public school realm than it is in the Catholic schools, parochial schools. But I know that it's very hard to talk about, and it's very weird to listen to somebody talk about it. But it's something that needs to be addressed. So I'm not sure if that's still what it's called, bumping and grinding, but I can tell you one thing that's not called, and that's dancing. Bumping and grinding is super selfish. It shouldn't even be close to being classified as dancing. We glorify God by moving our bodies and respecting the other gender in a chaste manner. Bumping and grinding does not accomplish either of these goals. Real dancing accomplishes both of these goals, though, and these are goals that we should all strive for. There are several styles of dancing. But my favorites are country swinging and two-stepping. They're very similar. But when we're really dancing and moving our bodies, we're glorifying God to the best of our abilities in that moment. So God gave us the ability to move our bodies, so we can't pass up the opportunity to use that gift to the fullest. So our bodies were designed for dancing, and women were created with a certain elegance that allows them to move and spin beautifully on the dance floor. And men were created with strength. And we were created with this strength that allows us to spin women, to move them, pick them up on the dance floor, do all that when we're dancing. And so in that regard, dancing includes a certain complementarity given by God. And when we're really dancing, we are respecting the other gender. We're using the complementarity that God created with us to glorify Him, and that's what this is about, is glorifying God. So, if you excuse me, ladies, I'm going to focus on the guys for just a second, but I promise I'll come back to you. You should definitely still listen to this part, though, because this is something that you can help hold these guys accountable to. So, guys, we were put on this earth to protect and respect women. I like the phrase protect and respect because, number one, it's catchy and it's easy to remember. It's not a long list of things for us to do. It's simple. I mean, most things that people tell you, they give you this long list, 4 or 5 things, but this is only 3 words: protect and respect, and it rhymes. So men of God, they fulfill this duty, but boys do not, and it's a very delicate line, very something that we need to define as boys and men, and we should all strive to be men, not boys. When we as men of God are dancing with women, we're the leaders. God calls us to be the leaders. When we're dancing with a woman, we're not only glorifying God, by moving, but we're also admiring the work that He has done in creating this beautiful creature called woman. This is why two-stepping and swing dancing are my favorite. When we're on the dance floor and spinning the woman around, we're showing her off for the world to see. We're saying, look at this beautiful creation. And then after we've showed her off for a while, then we bring her back in close so that it's understood to the other men that she's yours. Because as men, it's important for us to establish these goals, these boundaries with each other. I said goals, but I really meant boundaries. Sorry, ladies. I'm not exactly sure why we'd have to do that, but that's really just the way we're created. It's something that we all struggle with. So even if that girl that we're dancing with is one of our friends' girlfriend, that man's letting you dance with her. So dancing with her respectfully in a respectful manner is an act of chivalry to her and him. It shows that you respect his relationship with her. So one thing that about this especially part is I can almost guarantee you that a man would be way more willing to let you swing dance with his girlfriend than to bump and grind with his girlfriend, you know. So that's all that I have to say for the gentlemen. Now, ladies, thanks for your patience. We're going to test the men's patience on this part, and I'm going to talk to you guys for a little bit. Men, one last thing. I believe that it would be a wise thing to get out your handy-dandy notebook and your note pen and take a couple notes on this part. It'll really help you out, I think. As ladies, dancing is an extreme form of flattery. A man puts himself out in the open by asking you to dance, and you, ladies, should be very patient and gracious in accepting that man's request. If you're patient for the request, then you're practicing a very small example, but a great example of emotional chastity. And when the man finally asks you to dance, it makes it that much more flattering and allows you the opportunity to be much more gracious for the request. If you're listening, like I said, you should be, to the man's part, it's very important because men were put on the earth, as I said, to protect and respect you. This simply put is chivalry. It's the simplest way that we can put chivalry. I understand that in today's culture, women expect men to let them do things on their own, and I understand that you're all independent women, but men don't do chivalrous things because they think women are incapable, or at least they shouldn't. Men, that's something that you should have wrote down there. So men, they do these chivalrous actions, these chivalrous acts for you to show respect. And one thing that I think does a really good job of summing that up is I went to a Catholic conference called Seek. It was in Nashville last January. And Jason Everett, in one of his breakout sessions, was talking to a group of men, and he said this, and it really stuck with me. Do we conquer women for the sake of ourselves, or do we conquer ourselves for the sake of women? I really like this quote because it sums up chivalry in 19 words. I'm all about that short and sweet kind of thing. So, ladies, guys struggle a lot with pride, and that's something that we really struggle with. It comes from original sin, from the Garden of Eden. And the thing about it is that boys will allow this pride to come first, and they'll conquer women for themselves. But men, these are the ones that are worth finding, because they conquer themselves for the sake of women, and they die to themselves in small ways to raise you up and put you first. When a man asks a woman to dance, it requires them to be vulnerable and courageous. These qualities are very necessary for men to possess so that they can keep their pride at bay. In dancing, men show you off to the world so that you can see your beauty. Then they pull you back to themselves to show that they are willing to protect that beauty. So I said that men are the ones worth finding because men are willing to put you first. But they're also going to be the first to have your back when push comes to shove. Boys who conquer women for the sake of themselves, they're going to be the first to flake out in the same kind of situation. I know that it seems like there are no good guys out there, but I promise you there are. I've seen them, and God will place one in your life if you're patient and believe in His plan. So I'm going to go back to the whole group now, men and women both, to close things out. And I hope that you've learned the true beauty behind dancing and being the men and women that God's created you to be. I hope that you have an understanding of how important it is that we respect each other as male and female and the complementarity that they share. That complementarity shows with both the request to dance and the very acting of dancing in and of itself. Men and women were made to go together, and dancing is just one way to show that. So I hope that you can put this information to use in your high school dances. And slowly but surely, if you can get just a few people dancing, then there will be a change. And keep working hard because the payout's worth it. As a final thought to kind of get the ball rolling for you, Proverbs chapter 14, verse 23 says that in all labor there's profit, but mere talk tends only to loss. If you keep working, then there will be a profit. I can tell you that. If you can get your peers, get them to start dancing the way I've described here, and having that respect for women, there will be a profit. And if you only talk about it and don't act, then it'll fade away and it'll be worth nothing. And as I said in the beginning, the devil is prowling around like a roaring lion. So do not let him devour this idea and inhibit its growth. Strive to build up a culture of dancing in your school, and I can almost guarantee that it'll spread to other schools. You'll set an example for other people. And that's what the devil doesn't want. He doesn't want you to go out and set an example for the other kids in the other schools. So he's created this culture that we're working against as young adults, that we have to work against, and we have to counteract it. It requires us to be very vigilant and strong. So to close things out finally, I encourage you to work hard and keep trying, and stop dancing and start dancing, and be the men and women that God created you to be. Thanks.